Now, most people have the mistaken idea that Tai Chi is Taoism. And they think that if you do Tai Chi, then you should be learning Taoist spirituality or Taoist meditation. And I simply want to say that's false. That is not the case. Tai Chi is one of many, many practices within Taoism. But then if we start looking at what is Taoist meditation and how in a small amount of it running around, it is combined with Tai Chi, we have to look at several things. The easiest way to begin Taoist meditation is not doing Tai Chi. It is simply sitting like Buddhists do, sitting on a cushion, sitting like Hindus do. And the reason for that is very simple. When you sit still, it is much easier to calm your mind and to go inside yourself and stably remain there. And the whole process of meditation or spirituality in Taoism, it's going to eventually come back to being able to go inside yourself and sorting out what the people in the West call karma. Now, Tai Chi is more difficult from the point of view of meditation, simply because you're constantly moving your body, and how much attention have you got? And as I explain what the process of Taoist meditation is and what the process of Tai Chi is, I'll try and make how they link. But you'll be able to see that doing each of them independently is not easy. Doing them both together is really difficult. So now, the first stage that exists in all Taoist meditation methods are settling yourself. Now, we live in a crazy world. And in this world, as it is, most human beings do not really know what's inside them, and the way that their mind goes here and there and here and there and here and there. And each one of those here and there's can affect them very strongly, is something that has to be overcome. And that is overcome in the beginning by learning how to sit. Now in Buddhism, they call this jumping around your mind, jumping here and there and here and there, becoming so easily distracted, just like it is in the regular world. I mean, how many people drive a car and keep their eyes continuously the whole car ride on the road? They don't. They look to the left, they look to the right. They hear a sound, their mind goes there. Something on the radio makes them start thinking to where they're half looking at what is on the road. And that's the reason why many states in America have tried to make it illegal to have your cell phone on while you're driving. Could be a major distraction. So what are the things that are trying to be accomplished in this initial goal of sitting Taoist meditation? Well, it's getting both the body to calm down and have all the nervous system glitches, have all the ways in which your nerves are firing in incredibly random ways, all the ways in which your nerves going this way and this way is making you tired, is distorting your vision, is distorting your ability to think. So you have that. Then the next thing that's happening when you sit is that how do you get your mind to withdraw inside of you? Now, if you would ask most people, can you tell me what your liver's doing? Or could you move your liver? Or could you move the blood in your body from this place to that place purely through relaxed mental concentration? They'd look at you like you're crazy. I can remember, not with Tai Chi, but with Bagua, I can remember the first time my teacher said, no, as your hands goes up, you want to make your liver rise. As it goes down, you want to make it turn. As your hand goes down, you want to have it sink down. And I looked at him like he was mad. I was a 19-year-old kid. He was a 70-year-old man. And I said, you know, if it had been in America, I would have asked him, what have you been smoking? What have you been drinking? What LSD did you have last week? Because these were things that were normally considered to be not capable. So today, meditation is mostly promoted as a method of stress reduction. And the initial phase of sitting in Taoism, you could put in that category because you're calming down your mind, you're calming down your thoughts, you're calming down your nervous system. You're slowing down and calming down the functioning of your internal organs, which are all affected by stress. Okay, so that's just sitting. Now, the next thing, commonly called 专心, is having your mind go from the crown of your head inside your body, because by settling down, you should at least be somewhat aware of the inside of your body. But then have your mind go deeper and deeper and deeper until you occupy everything in your torso, the inside. Until a time will come when you can feel your kidneys, when you can feel your intestines, when you can feel your heart. Not as an idea. I saw this picture of my heart or my intestines in an anatomy book, but you can feel it the same way you can feel your fingers. When you do this with your fingers, a normal person will have no doubt that they are feeling their fingers. Well, you have to have that level of sensitivity inside your body. Then you have to have whatever is blocked. You have to learn how to clear your blockages until your mind can arrive in your lower dantian. Now, this is a big thing in many forms of Buddhism. Not all forms, but most of them. And it's a big thing in Taoism. And they say it isn't until your mind can settle in your lower dantian, stay there stably, be relaxed, allow it to observe what's happening inside you without getting involved, without jumping to it, without having some idea it's important, without having some idea that's me. And you know it's not you because it's changing every couple of seconds. You sit down like this, whatever you thought you were, whatever ideas you had, you're not going to have it in half an hour or 10 minutes, or in some cases, a minute. So there has to be something about it, and they just call it settling. Now, the whole next stage of Daoist meditation practice is that all of us have karma that is entrained into our body. And through relaxation, through paying attention, through relaxing your mind in a very relaxed way, which will help you with all this stress release stuff, 100% sure, that you have to now start releasing what they call blockages. In Buddhism, they're called obstacles. An obstacle, a blockage, it's the same exact thing. There's no difference. So now you have to start going again, starting from the crown of your head. Once you can kind of have a starting point, it's called being seated because you have a seat that your mind can rest on stably. I don't say it will, I say it can. And you have to practice that until you get that stability. Now, the whole practice of Taoist meditation, there are many kinds of spirituality. Some kinds are just based upon belief and subservience. Some kinds are based upon vibration. Some types are based upon waking up the light in you, which at the end of the day is going to be, and you can go through the Bible if you like, that's how God is representative, as a source of internal light. Every time you see a picture of Jesus Christ, commonly you see the light all around his head, or in some cases, his whole body. So you have to find out what this light is. But before we get there, human beings, according to Taoist belief, theory, practice, is that human beings have three basic aspects to themselves. They have a body, and anytime anyone doubts they don't have a body, then I just say, take a bowling ball and drop it on your foot. I guarantee you in that second, you will realize you have a body because the pain's shooting through you. And the Taoists say that in this life, everything that is truly related to most stress only happens to you because the energies inside your body are badly arranged, or they have been assaulted by whatever you've gone through that day. Now, the next one, the Hindus talk about chakras, although most people don't know what it means. They talk about it. The Buddhists talk about chakras. The Taoists just talk about energy vortexes or centers in the body, of which they focus on three. One here, your lower dantian, which is the gateway to anything that's physically going on inside you. The next one is the heart center, which is the gateway to anything which has to do with relationships that you are aware of. And you can't think of this as simply as, I love you, you love me, I hate him, I'm for this political party, I'm for that political party, I have powerful emotional feelings about my dog. I have powerful emotional feelings. No, because it's all relationships. Now, if you start on the big one, living on this earth, what is my relationship to the earth? The whole of the earth. What is my relationship to the sun? What is my relationship to the stars? So you start going into, and all the practices in Taoism are about making it so that you are intrinsically comfortable with your relationships. And then how you take them to what their possibilities are. Again, bear in mind in all this, not once have I used the word God. Now, in the West has a very big thing about God. In most of the major meditation, spiritual traditions of the East, including Taoism, they call it the Tao, but they don't have anything about a God that in any shape, manner, or form has a distinct physical shape, presence. It's amorphous. But where they do get is that eventually, if you want to understand what this God thing is, you have to understand the subtle vibrations of the universe. And you have to understand the subtle light that pervades the universe. Because this light is touching everybody 24 hours a day. And in the contact of that light touching your body and your sense of any ideas that come in your head or what you believe or what you don't believe, it is a light that's triggering it. So now the next big question that becomes, if you have karma inside you, if you have light inside you that is bound up and covered, if you have vibrations which cause everything to manifest, without vibrations, nothing comes into being. How do you recognize what those things are? How do you recognize the karma that is entwined in it? But most important is, how do you release it? Because it's only by releasing everything that has you bound at the level of vibration and everything that has you bound at the level of light. It is only through dissipating, eliminating, getting past, neutralizing, whatever term you want to have, that a person can spiritually wake up. Now, I know so little about computers, it's not worth mentioning. The only thing I knew about computers is that I started learning how to use them so I could write these books when I came back from China, because it was really obvious how writing them by hand just wasn't going to work. And I had the experience of, for months on end, writing 8 to 12 hours a day and teaching and taking care of a family and getting between 2 and 4 hours of sleep a night. So I would say that I have some experience with stress. But the nature of this light is that once the light suffuses what you would call stress, the stress loses its power over you. It loses its power to harm you. When you are able to dissolve the vibrations from which everything and every aspect of your being derive from, those things no longer are a problem. And whatever innate abilities are contained inside them are released. So this is these three centers in the body. So now the next question becomes, well, exactly how do you start getting them to work? You know, if you go to a Kundalini person, he'll tell you got to make your Kundalini Shakti rise up. And as it rises up, it'll get rid of them. Well, that's not really how the Taoism works. What it does is that it has various practices. The first one is called inner dissolving, where they literally, just like water will dissolve ice. Put some ice in a cup, in a glass. Come back 3 hours later and you cannot separate what is the water and what is the ice. They have integrated in some way. And the same thing works inside you. And the process that this starts with is called inner dissolving. And inner dissolving, you could say, is like, just like that ice goes into water, it will naturally dissolve. You don't have to do anything to the ice. You don't have to do anything to the water. All you have to do is keep the two of them stably in contact with each other. So you start losing the sense of the ice. You start losing the sense of whatever karma is inside you. And according to the Eastern way of looking at these things, they have different words, they have different metaphors, and there's 50 stories which are very impressive to most ordinary people about how it works, because people love stories and that's how humans learn. But they start off only telling stories about how you want to dissolve this particular thing or that particular thing. For example, it's estimated that a big chunk of the American population, the numbers vary, but it's over half of the American people have been traumatized. Was it done by a person? Was it done by events? Was it done by earthquakes? Was it done by fire? Was it done by being in a war zone? All these things create traumas. And if you want to go down the list of easily identifiable traumas, then I'm afraid this little talk would last at least a few weeks. But the fact of the matter is that we have traumas. And in that place where you have traumas, it causes a few things to happen. First of all, it affects your body. And your body has memory. You know, the one that's always brought out as the big example is the amygdala, because it stores negative emotions. Okay? Other parts of your brain store positive emotions. But as long as you are trapped by either positive or negative emotions, they will come back to harm you. They will come back to make life very, very uncomfortable. Now, my teacher in Beijing, my final teacher, he would always say, whenever anything like that, he would just say, Niya shufu. Shufu means comfortable in Chinese. So comfortable is more than just not being uncomfortable. It's everything is right with the world. Everything is right inside you. Hard to say what that feels like to anybody, but it's there. Then you start looking at, well, how can I release everything until I arrive at this state of shufu? And in inner dissolving, which is the big technique, the three main things are, the phrases they use are ice to water, water to space, and emptiness. Now, if you had nothing but a sense of emptiness inside you, nothing that happens to you will ever bother you again. You will just be able to integrate it and accept it. If you have a sense of space that you are not bound by this bag of skin you have, and you just can let everything go until you expand out, I don't know, past this planet to stars, that releases another major source of stress inside you. That releases another major source of the way we are contracted as beings. And contraction makes people very uncomfortable. Get a person who's really strong, start squeezing your hand till they break all the bones in your hand. I guarantee you that you will go through a period of being uncomfortable. Or if you can make your hand to where it becomes like a ghost and the person just goes right through it, you will not become uncomfortable. So contraction is a big thing. And there are other spiritual traditions that emphasize contraction. I wouldn't want to make like Taoism is the only one. But it's one that really focuses on that. So you learn how to do this. You have your mind go through your body. In the beginning, you're only going down. Then later on, there are all sorts of other ways dissolving is done, from down to up, from left to right, from in to out, from only focusing on one blockage to being able to focus on multiple blockages at once. But all this builds up with practice. And the thing of it is that in the end, your insides are like this, and then they let go and they relax. Now, where does this have some commonality with? And we'll come back to this meditation sitting. But everything in Taoism is done 5 ways. It's done within your body. It's done standing, moving, lying down, communicating with things outside of your body or things inside of your body. Outside of your body could be a tree. Inside your body could be a ghost. And having you simply let go of anything that happens during any communication. This world we live in, words, communications, what people say, their demeanor, what they look like, all these things are ways of communicating. And they make most of us bound. Now, Taoism has a very long history. And many of the people who were considered to be the most advanced and had reached the final goal of Taoism, they didn't care if they walked around in clothes full of holes. And many of these were, in the society they lived in, the richest and most powerful people in that society. But they got to a point to where they weren't attached to anything. Nor were they particularly motivated by what anybody else thought of them. Because these deep things that are inside you, what the Tao is, it cannot be influenced by anything. And of course, living in our current society, that's very difficult. I mean, the minister's got to have a nice suit. The president has to have a nice suit. Somebody, if they come in, with the tie and the thing and looking very beautiful, or in alternative clothing, but it's very clean, it's very pressed. Oh, that gathers the admiration of people. Or it gathers the desire in other people to follow them because they want to be like that. But the Taoists have a phrase, you're you and I'm me. Whatever this thing that makes you an individual, I'm not going to go into the technical stuff. Whatever that is, that's you. And nobody has exactly the same configuration on their insides as anybody else. They may have things that will create resonance. Oh, I like that, as opposed to I don't like that. But it's the same thing. So it's like being in the ocean, being 20 feet below the water and going, this part of the water is good, that part of the water is no good. It's meaningless. It has no relevance to life. So the next thing is that you start dissolving these things. Now, along the way, you have blockages and you want to get rid of all of them. You want to neutralize them, absorb them, and integrate them so that when they become integrated, they take you to a place that's beyond inner peace. Not just inner peace, which is a very big thing in America these days, but past that, beyond that. Okay. And this keeps on going. Now, in sitting Daoist meditation, it's normally done in the beginning just from up here to what? Your lower dantian, which controls your body. Because the Taoists are practical people. They say, look, you can believe anything. You want to believe in God? Personally, I liked, if you ever saw the movie Gladiator, guy from America, a little statue about this big, and he prays to it before he goes to fight in the ring. And then he wraps it up in cloth and he buries it somewhere and he takes it out the next time he needs it. Well, I think that's a more friendly kind of God. I mean, maybe, it's not quite a leprechaun, but it'll do. But what you actually have is that if you have no idea of what God is, you can believe what God is, but unless you have a practical living experience, like you're sharing a bed with them or they're sitting in your living room, you don't know what God is. It's an idea. And the Taoists say that you have to clear all these very deep ideas inside you, which is what karma is, that affect you and drive how you live until they become neutral and they become comfortable. I don't say they feel spectacular. And along the way, you can get pretty much all the experiences you get from other spiritual traditions. You can get ecstasy. You can get the ability to know past, present, and future. You can get all sorts of things. Most people don't, but you can, and some people do. And that inspires people very much because that's more than being an ordinary human. Where the Taoists they have things in their tradition that the highest form of spiritual progress is to become a human being. And they hold the position that most people are not human beings, and that the nature of the human condition is that most humans are, let's say, have massive animal tendencies. And if we didn't have those, we wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have people abusing people, we wouldn't have all sorts of negative things, but we do. So now we go back to Tai Chi. The first thing that's happening in Tai Chi, in the classic schools, is that they teach you how to stand. And they teach you how to stand for several major reasons. The first one is that in order to really get what standing is, you have to be able to be aware of every part of your body as you let your strength go. Now, in the beginning, most people can't really feel much more than the skin. But as you practice more and more, you start penetrating your own body. Just like in meditation, you penetrate a blockage. And unless you penetrate that blockage and get involved with the whole of that blockage, you can't release all of it. If you can penetrate the blockage 10%, well, then you can release the blockage 10%. So if you had hatred towards your parents, toward something to do with politics, or people who have greatly harmed you, or people that you're upset because they greatly harm people you care about, well, if you can penetrate your blockages 10%, you can release that grief 10%. And the goal is that you can't really get in the game until you can penetrate right to the core of a blockage. Now, you can compare some of this stuff to your unconscious mind, which is what psychotherapy is done. But when you get to the bottom of what's in your unconscious mind, that's really where the game begins. It's only till you have released enough of your unconscious mind that you can go into a state of inner stillness where everything goes terribly quiet. Now, to be fair, that's also a major goal of Buddhism. Okay, and Taoism and Buddhism have always been described as being fairly similar in terms of what they do internally. So, and a big thing about Taoism is that it doesn't reject anything. It's all okay. If you see a person being chopped to pieces by somebody else, when you get far enough, you can arrive at this neutrality where it's okay. I mean, I see them doing it. I know they're chopping a finger, a hand, or whatever. You don't freak out because it's just part of what exists. And learning to accept what is so, what exists, is a very big thing in Taoist spiritual. Well, you're doing Tai Chi. Oh, wow. I know. Oh, I'm learning how to relax. I'm learning. And in that relax, I'm penetrating my skin. I'm slowly moving down toward the bone and the bone marrow, which is a big goal in Tai Chi. Or I'm going in and I'm relaxing my belly and my chest and everything until I've reached and can feel my internal organs. And then I can start going into my internal organs till I can arrive at what their essence is. And many other things. And the way it's done in Tai Chi is that it's done by feeling, and it's done by directing your mind to do that task. Okay? That's the same thing you do in Daoist meditation. Now, what you're focusing on may not be the same. And as part of Daoist meditation, classical Tai Chi was martial art. And they didn't always focus on going so super deep because they only focused on what channels in your body have to open up to create the power. Or as my first internal martial arts teacher told me, it's a terrible thing to hit a human being. It's something you should never do. It goes against the morality of heaven and earth. But you know what's worse? In a situation that requires it, that you hit them and nothing happens. Because then you make it possible for that person to harm the next person. Okay. It's all right. So, Tai Chi's a martial art and it's got all this great stuff, but it gets all this great stuff by moving energy into your body to tell your body to move, because Chi is what tells your body to move, or it tells your body how to absorb something that's coming in to hit you or throw you. And it's telling you how to change and move around with what you're doing. They go this way, okay, you go this way, then you go that way. You do whatever you do. But it's teaching you those skills. But then those skills in Taoist meditation get directly translated into what you do with your mind and how you move the chi around your body. Now, the last of these three things, Jing Qi Shen, is your spirit. Now, Tai Chi, when you get to a fairly high level, you learn how to start mobilizing your spirit and get it to go where it wants, or you learn how to have your spirit release everything that is in you that will prevent you from doing what you're trying to. But again, their focus was because China was a dangerous place, and because governments in China were ever changing. They were teaching in Tai Chi so that you could have some chance when the bad guys were after you to not get hurt. Or if the bad guys were trying to hurt little children, you could stop. Or if the army that was full of bad guys whose generals and upper people had bad ideas, you could stop them. And this is why Taoists, with their martial arts and whatnot, as well as the Buddhists at times were called in to defeat the forces of the corrupt forces of the empire. Okay. So now you have this to where in the process of learning how to move chi everywhere, and I should make this one point. This is not ordinary Tai Chi. Screw the Tai Chi of the Tai Chi in the park, where people are just doing movements and they're kind of mindless with the whole thing. This is the Tai Chi that which associated, as it comes from Taoism, and all of its yin yang principles. This was what they did. My teacher studied with those guys in China after becoming a master of martial art Tai Chi. Not before. Just like you can't go for a PhD if you don't have a BA. There's a little bit that goes in the middle. So anyway, that then, with the 4,000 channels in the body, that was the underlying basis of all Chinese medicine, which came from the Daoist, that they taught you how to work with those. And it's not any different than if you want to make the chi move through your arm and put power in your arm. It's similar. I mean, there's some small details, but let's not go into that. It's similar that you could take your mind and you could put your chi on a blockage, which normally you would have a hell of a time releasing, and now you can release it. It's like watering a plant. The plant had the innate ability to grow, but without water, it wasn't going to go anywhere. So you put energy, you put water in the plant starts growing. You put energy in a blockage and it softens up enough to where your mind can actually encompass it. Then as you go in, there's stuff that when you're doing Tai Chi, you learn how to start working with the 3 dantians in the body. And generally speaking, Tai Chi as an exercise or as a martial art only works with one of the centers in your body. So the heart is all relationships that exist. This is everything to do with time and space. And as we all know, there's a lot of time and a lot of space out there. So you do these things until finally you have released everything in it that's stuck, that's bound, that's glued together. And then the Taoists are different than some traditions. A lot of people read books about all these famous guys, right? You know, Bodhidharma or Milarepa. And then one day they had a magical experience. Jesus Christ spends 40 days in the desert, and it's after he confronts the devil and overcomes the devil that he does it. The Buddha sits below the Bodhi tree, goes through everything and has a war with Maya or the internal blockages inside him, overcomes it. Well, the Taoists say that the way it actually ends up happening for most people is that one day you just scratch your head, like Newton, an apple falls on your head, and then all of a sudden, boom, you get what the Tao is and you can move with it from that time forward. Now, this is the spiritual side of Tai Chi, and you have that in Tai Chi too. In Tai Chi, though, it would happen more likely. You'd be doing a punch or you'd be doing some technique. And then all of a sudden, between here and here, boop, it happens. Now, most people do not look at spirituality as the way I've been talking about it for the past few minutes, because I've been giving what the Eastern view on spirituality is, what the Kabbalistic view on spirituality is, but is making you directly aware of the force of the universe. So, in Tai Chi, though, instead of sitting and just directing your mind, you have these movements that are telling your mind to go along these pathways, and with every one of them, it directly, as you're dissolving while you're doing Tai Chi, it is directly releasing the karma that's inside you. Now, I could go on about this for a long time, but that's kind of like the shortest version I can give. With that being said, thank you very much.